Namaskar. There have been two very important developments in the last 1 week to 10 days. Let us have a look at those in this video. The first one pertains to many comments written by you in the previous two videos asking about what happens to the previously infected, those with natural immunity. How do they fare against the Delta variant? The answer is available in a study. We'll just take a minute or two at the beginning to go into it. After that, we have a fabulous study presented beautifully by the science correspondent of the BBC, which explains the science in simple words of why the natural immunity, which is the inherent immunity, is so durable, so powerful, and so effective for not just COVID-19 but for all types of infections. Let us have a look quickly at these two things over the next 10 minutes. A study was conducted in the Department of Microbiology and Immunology at the Health and Science University in Portland, USA. This was done 2 months ago, and the results which have come out later say that, I'll give you the sentence, the scientific sentence first, and then we'll interpret it. In one simple sentence it says, VOC RBD specific MBCs were detected in all subjects. We'll go over this, don't get scared with these words. Now VOC refers to variants of concern, which in this case our chief primary concern is the Delta virus. Okay, the VOC RBD refers to the Delta virus antigen, specifically its spike protein. That is what it refers to. Now what this says is VOC RBD specific MBCs were detected in all subjects. MBCs refers to memory B cells. If you can recall, in our video on natural immunity, which we did a few weeks ago, we said that apart from antibodies, which are very important, there are also other things like B cells and T cells, which strengthen the immunity system and give it even longevity. Now the memory B cells found in this study were remembering the spike protein even of the Delta variant, even though the people who were involved in the study had got the infection as long as 10 or 11 months ago, with some other variant of the coronavirus. So this answers that question to a lot of people who have asked, how will natural immunity work against Delta variant? It says, this study, it doesn't mention Delta. In fact, it's even better because it says that memory B cells were found for multiple variants. So even if a new variant were to come tomorrow, lambda is already come, epsilon, zeta, eta, theta, whatever Greek alphabet, the fact of natural immunity possessing this capability of not only having antibodies for that specific strain but also for many other strains which may come about. That is very significant study. So this is good news for those who have been following, who are studying, who are very interested in natural immunity and interested in the science of natural immunity, and who would like to go with the natural science and the naturally obtained immunity, rather than the artificially generated immunity. Now let us move on to the second study. This is a very good research because it tells us in simple words and in simple concepts why natural immunity is better. There are 4 key areas which we can compare, natural immunity versus vaccine-induced immunity. The first is breadth, the second is strength, the third is duration, and the fourth is effectiveness. Let us look at each of them briefly. Now, what does breadth imply? It implies how broad the immune response is after being infected to other strains of this virus. That is a key question now, isn't it? The study which we just saw in the first 2 minutes of this video gave us empirical evidence as to how those with prior infection could also be immune to the Delta variant. But here the science research tells us why, and it's very, very interesting. You see, the vaccine, what it does is, it puts in either through the mRNA method or through the weak virus method. What it does is, it targets the spike protein in the coronavirus, and it creates antibodies in the body against that particular spike protein. Now, what does natural immunity do? That has not been designed artificially in a laboratory. What our body does with its innate intelligence and its innate immunity is that when confronted with this virus, which has 28 other proteins, by the way, not just that one spike protein. So when the virus comes in contact with us, which we call infection, our body produces antibodies to this multiple proteins. It is preparing itself against all the 28 proteins, not just that one spike protein. Which is why those with vaccine induced immunity are often getting the other strains, the Delta variant or whichever is to come next. Even though they are getting mild infections, because there is some protection with vaccination. That is true. But for the natural immune person, he's far more chances of not even getting the infection, of being completely asymptomatic with even the variants, because his body has produced antibodies with respect to 28 proteins. The second point, after breadth of protection, let us go to strength of protection, which means how good is this immunity in stopping infection and in preventing severe illness. As we have already said, reinfection remains very, very rare in cases of natural immunity. Even though more than 150 million people in the world have been infected with the new coronavirus, COVID-19, since the beginning of the pandemic, relatively very, very, very few confirmed cases of reinfection have been reported. In the case of vaccine induced immunity, we are beginning to see more and more reinfections happening, especially since the effect of the vaccine immunity wanes after some time, and also because it is a little helpless against the Delta variant. But it must be said that both with natural immunity and even to an extent with vaccine induced immunity, the reinfections, even if it does happen, is not as severe as it would have been if we had not had that immunity. Let us now look at the third parameter, duration. How long does protection last with immunity of both types? We do know that there are memory T cells that linger in the body and memory B cells which remain primed, ready to produce a new flood of antibodies on demand. Now, what happens in the case of natural immunity and what happens in the case of vaccine-induced immunity? Now, we have study after study which show that natural immunity has lasted fully so far till now, and the reinfections are very, very rare. In fact, new studies are suggesting that immunity in convalescent individuals may last for decades, if not a lifetime. With vaccine-induced immunity, unfortunately, all studies, both from Israel, from the US, they are showing that it is waning with time, and quite quickly actually. In Israel, for those who had both the vaccines double dose in January this year, the protection from the vaccine crashed to 16%, just 16% last month. So this is a case for worry, which is why they are now thinking of a third dose or booster dose, etc. So this is the difference in duration, between natural immunity and vaccine-induced immunity. The fourth parameter for comparison is location. Where in the body is this immunity? Now, this is a very important question and a little known fact actually. Now, the antibodies that we have in the blood, they are called Immunoglobulin-G. But there are a different type of antibodies which are present in the nose and in the trachea and in the lungs. Now, these are called Immunoglobulin-A's. Now, what the vaccine-induced immunity does is it cannot offer immunoglobulin A's in the nose and in the lungs. It can only help the body produce immunoglobulin G, which we measure in the bloodstream. But these immunoglobulins A's which are present, from in this whole tract, they are very important barrier to fresh infection. And natural immunity through natural infection is obviously better because this works in the body right from the nose up to the lungs and then into the blood. So you have a complete suite of antibodies in your system. Now these were the 4 parameters of comparison: strength, breadth, strength, duration and location. And this is really a study which can which offers a lot of people insights. It offers us understanding, and many of you can also use this study after understanding it yourself to present it to your friends, your family, people at your workplace. Even to those who are very cynical, who are anti natural immunity, there's a lot of extremism, vaccine extremism going on. But always present it, please, my suggestion, humble suggestion, always present it with affection, with compassion, rather than fighting and arguing with them. All right, I wish all of us the best of health. Stay healthy, stay happy.